this last talk, I want to start with a philosopher's quote. It's not about how hard you hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. That's the famous 20th century philosopher Rocky Balboa. So in this final session, we will hear about practical lessons from aviation, from healthcare, and crisis management on how to prepare for the unknowns and even grow stronger through them and keep moving forward. And if we can borrow from Katrina's story, maybe you can see how much in these cases we see stupidity, helplessness, maybe malicious intent, and where intelligence comes in. Let's combine these stories and see what we can learn from our next and final speaker on our stage, the founder and board member of CIREN, Civilian Resilience Nordic, Mr. Jānis Vanags. Jānis, welcome. Well, you have the honor. Give us all of your energy at the finale of Cyber Chess.
Good afternoon. Anybody here? All right. Let me start with asking you a couple of questions. So we heard a lot about trouble in the previous talk, right? So my session is more about basically taking people out of trouble and how that can be done practically. So can I ask you a couple of practical questions to start with? Ready? Ready for questions? Hands up. Who's ready? Okay, one. Nah. Okay, let me ask you again. Are you ready? Yes. Okay. So I like practical things. So let's start with practical questions. Who of you knows how to, in practice, how to fix a leaky pipe? Oh, okay. Me too. Okay. Who of you is in the military? You are as well, I know. So, who of you knows how to draw plans and strategies? No way. Let me ask you again. Who of you can create a plan? All of you, yeah? I guess you did create a plan to come here today, right? So quite a bit more people can actually do planning and do strategizing than, say, fixing a leaky pipe or driving a truck. You know? So sometimes these practical skills come very handy when you have to deal with trouble. So why I'm talking about trouble? Because basically I'm talking about, because I'm dealing with emergency management. How to take people out of crisis, out of trouble. And there are a few elements I would like to start with and actually finish with when we finish the presentation. And the key element in the equation is people. So if you want to take yourself out of trouble, basically think of people. Why is that? Why do you need to think of people?
It's the weakest point.
Weakest point. People, weakest point. Any other ideas? Yes, people can take action. They can make things happen. I come from the airline world, and in the airline world, we love documents, procedures, checklists, you know. As a pilot, I also, like, first thing, I take my checklist, and my checklist says, good morning, breathe in, then breathe out, yes? Kidding, of course not, but close to that. So we sometimes think that procedures can save us, you know, and can help, can come in handy when it's trouble. But I have had a situation myself in Thailand. I was back in the day. I was training a group of airline managers, and when I came into the room, I had a group of people in front of me, and they were showing me their resilience plan or crisis management plan. I had a look at it, and I said, like, I'm not sure I want to fly this airline. I mean, this document is not exactly very good. So the document was so-so. I was like, okay, so some improvements need to be done. But to my big surprise, when I actually gave a task to this group of people, these airline managers, I gave them a task. They performed brilliantly. They made things happen. So the right people, maybe a weaker document or weaker procedures, but they still could manage because we had the right people and they also had the right purpose. So the right culture and mindset. And that really made things happen. So there's not always procedures, rules, regulations. So this is a combination of things. Yeah. So one of these things is out, the system typically fails. Yeah? You have the documents and the purpose, but you don't have people, it fails. Yeah? Or you have documents or people, but no purpose, no culture, you know, likely failure again. So, but what needs to be done in practice, actually to get yourself better prepared for the unknown, is something that we will look into in the next 20 minutes. And then I will finish off with another story about people that actually gives more light at the end of the tunnel than in the previous presentation, which I liked, but still, you know, being from the very, you know, troubled area of crisis, I'm extremely optimistic. You know, I will tell you why in the end. So maybe this picture is less optimistic than me myself, though this is trouble that we have across Europe, and we see there's quite a big number of crises all over the place, ranging from hybrid attacks, subkinetic attacks, let's call things as they are, state-sponsored terrorism. We like it or not. It is state-sponsored terrorism. And why do we see so much of that trouble? Russia. Biggest, most spectacular military failure in modern history. What we are seeing very close to our borders is a spectacular military fail. So there is nothing much left to do than subkinetic activity, hybrid threat. So if you cannot win militarily, so then you'd create trouble elsewhere. Huh? So if there is trouble, so now let's go back a little bit to, you know, creating procedures, processes, and what is the practice of doing this. So how to get prepared? First, when you want to get prepared, you have to fix your understanding right, okay? Who has heard of a crisis paradox? Here, anyone? Crisis paradox, what is that? Crisis paradox. This is actually a wonderful thing. This is probably the only slide where I ask people just to remember. The rest, basically, I'm okay if you forget. If you remember this one thing, crisis paradox, then I'm extremely happy. Baiba knows the answer. Right, Baiba? I know. Because she remembered this slide, I've shared it with her. Okay, but I will not be asking questions. But crisis paradox is a thing that when crisis hits, you can do things closer to the crisis. You know, the sooner or the quicker you are, the more agile you are, the more chances you have for survival or for a successful resolution of a crisis. Okay? And why do you think, if I go back, why do you think that after a crisis, your actions make more sense if it's closer to the beginning of the crisis, and they make less sense as time passes by? So as time elapses, your actions make less sense. Maybe here. Edwards, any thoughts?
Maybe it's not mattering anymore when the time lapses. You already adjusted to the situation and it's not so important.
So Edwards is proposing that actually time passes by and what you do later doesn't matter as much as what you did in the beginning. That is one thing. Yes, because people, you know, if there is a big explosion or a big crash and you are disregarding casualties or you're disregarding victims and their families, of course, you know, people start losing basically focus on you. So basically, there are some other players coming in. So other people have their actions taken because they start mobilizing. So your actions become less impactful as time passes by. At the same time, at the beginning of the crisis, there's always very little information available. So, and that is the paradox. We as smart people, intelligent people, I mean, we are intelligent people, hands up here. Intelligent people. Okay, I see few intelligent people. Okay. So most of us intelligent people, we want to make decisions based on information because we've been trained to do so. But at the same time, the paradox is that we have to take our first decisions before information flows in. And that's why it's a crisis paradox. And that's why it's actually very hard to be on top of the crisis, manage it, because there is so little information available, but you have to start making decisions right away. Huh? Who are the guys making decisions or taking action in a crisis? So now you can relax a little bit because the most important slide is there. Okay, it went away. Any idea why do we have these 4 big functions in a crisis? Why do we need them? Take decisions, yes. So, leadership. Their primary task is to take decisions. So, strategic. One of the most strategic decisions where leadership fails, and I have seen more failures than successes, is actually to take a decision to be prepared for a crisis. Because that decision needs to be taken about, or latest, 24 months before a crisis hits. So, now hands up. Be honest to yourself. Who has a crisis plan or an emergency response plan in your office, printed, Where is it? Okay, printed. On which shelf if printed? Okay, which? In a kitchen. Okay, one person. Can we give a big round of applause to this person right here?
I'm from Ukraine, so
You are among 1% of the population. So we conducted a survey. So all of us are good at strategizing, including myself. We come to conferences, we create strategies, talk resilience, talk crisis plans, but very few, extremely few people have a robust crisis plan. We did a survey just a month ago. We presented it in the Nordic Resilience Summit, which is a Nordic initiative, also organized by Civilian Resilience Nordic. And we saw a very, very sad picture. So 1% in organizations, 4% of the population have a plan. Okay? So we are good at strategizing, not good at doing stuff. So that's why actually we have my organization, because we do stuff. Yeah. So, and that is actually one of also the main failures where really strategic leadership is not up to the standard. Because typically the rest of the functions in organization, for example, assistance to people, HR team is doing a good job at this. Operational coordination, chief operations officer or the head of the crisis center or a head of an emergency room or situation room, they're doing a good job. Communications, doing a good job. But if there is no leadership decision to be prepared to allocate resources for that, you have failed. So those people who will take that decision, say, half an hour from now or tomorrow, they will be ready by 2028. So congratulations. If we talk about that one function in the middle lower, operational coordination or crisis room, a situation room, these people typically, and I have to show this diagram because I was talking the big picture and I just realized that I actually also made a mistake sometimes because people start asking me, Jānis, so you're talking about crisis management room, but actually who has to sit in that room? So you can take a quick snap picture of this. So this is the very generic thing, who are the people who have to sit in that room. But it is important not only who sits in that room, but who are the substitutes? Who are the people replacing the number one role? Say, if somebody is doing the legal role, that person can get quite tired after first 24 hours. Or if somebody is doing a security or a finance role, they need to be replaced. They need to be rostered, So there has to be a good rostering in place, and we are practicing this quite a bit. And actually, quite funnily, it's very easy to deal with the structure, But when, for example, we have a room full of very energetic, very good, young entrepreneurs in the room, and they have a well-functioning crisis center. You know what is the most difficult task there in that room? What do you think? Make them go for a break. Of course, they are energetic. They will not go for a break. Actually, you cannot stop the functioning of the room, so there is no break. So you have to replace people. So the next person has to come in, and so on and so forth. Actually, one of the most difficult tasks I give them, and where they're really struggling, is that when all of these people need to get food, they need to get their rest, So how do we continue the operation, when they still need to grab food, but help the victims, help to run the operation, and so on and so forth. So these small practical things are the challenging ones. So this is an example of many crisis centers. So this one is set up to help about 6 million people, a large region. So this is, and this can be laid out in different forms. It can be much smaller. The smaller room can be actually like also sometimes for 3-4 people. And 3-4 people in a crisis room is always better than 0 people. Yeah? So it can be very small, agile, practical. Yeah? So these were some practical considerations for a crisis room and emergency response setup. Of course, I prefer not to run into trouble. How about you? Do you like trouble? Yes? So troublemakers, yeah? So to the left, you know, those who don't like trouble, to the right, yeah, okay, we will get it sorted. So, but of course, you know, it is cheaper and easier to take mitigation action or preventative action. You know, so prevention is cheaper than sorting out trouble. Trouble is costly. There are a bunch of very smart people who say that crisis is an opportunity. Well, yes, it is. But this is a very costly opportunity. So it's much cheaper to avoid that trouble. So for that reason, we have created, okay, you can say it's an academic and theoretical concept, but still it's worth noting that to avoid trouble, you can rely on your resilience architecture in your organization. Well, sometimes in a family as well. So basically, this understanding encompasses a couple of elements on top of emergency management. So it integrates also risk management, risk assessment. So before you run into trouble, you manage your risks, and then you have more chances to avoid trouble. And I love this concept, and I've been fortunate enough to be given an opportunity also to implement it in actual organizations. You know, and we see that this works. These organizations perform much better than those who have standalone elements, not all of them integrated into one structure. So, yep. To save you some time, and I always prefer to be punctual or a little bit early when finishing my presentations. We've looked at some practical aspects, how to avoid trouble. So how to attempt to take yourself out of trouble. So you will need these considerations that I explained earlier to start, you know, designing your structures, your organization to deal with the crisis. However, I again want to go back to people. Here is the concluding story about people, and which is related also to our attempts to deal with crises and emergencies. I was quite fortunate to have a one-on-one chat with the previous boss of MI6, who just finished his duties a month ago, Richard Moores. And I was quite troubled, frankly, after this October 7 events in Israel. And I couldn't understand, you know, how that kind of trouble could have evolved. You know, we had quite a lengthy conversation, but how I understood it was that you can try to be the best expert, you can try to be the best organization, but you cannot practically or realistically be the best on the planet. You know? You cannot be the best. but what you can do your best. You can try, you can attempt to make every effort to be the best. And then you will be doing well. So you will improve. So you will learn. So, well, that is the philosophy we have taken on board, you know. Also in the organization that we created, and I'm happy to see a couple of our members and experts here. So we are trying our best. We are not the best, but we are attempting, making every effort. We learn a lot. So that's why we partner up with a lot of organizations across the continent and also over the Atlantic. So, and yes, these smart people also outside our organization give me very good hope that we will have good progress in improving ourselves. And after the doom and gloom I have heard during the day and all the trouble and threats and security, I want to say that, you know why I'm so optimistic? I can tell you why. It's because I know there is light at the end of the tunnel, and actually there is more light for those people who are prepared. So with that in mind, thank you so much, and happy to take your questions.
Excellent. Jānis, thank you very much. Please come join me on the stage. Thank you for creating a small crisis to our lighting and camera crew to catch wherever you are, but you gave us the energy. You woke us up, and that's what matters. 2 quick questions.
Ready for party, I guess, right?
Yes, we have 2 more minutes, and then the glasses will be filled. But we have to earn that with 2 quick questions. So and how does crisis response differ between a typical on-site disaster and the one in cyberspace? I guess the question is, are there any differences in how you react and how you manage that?
So how crisis differs from an on-site and digital and cyber. Who remembers the crisis paradox? Okay, few people. So how it starts? First thing that starts, first is the trouble that starts, right? And what do you do thereafter? When the trouble starts, what do you start doing? Go to kitchen? Yes? Yes, the plan is in the kitchen, right. You start making decisions. We are here, smart people in the room. We are here to make decisions. If our first decision is to wait, then it is a decision, okay? If our first decision is to start responding, activate the crisis team, it is a decision. It is a timely decision then. So, and funnily enough, we work actually, and our experts in CIREN, Civilian Resilience Nordic, we work with nuclear response plans, we work with cyber response plans, we work with security, we work with transportation issues. I have worked with the pandemic issues and so on and so forth. And you know what? I have seen now like hundreds, if not thousands of good plans. And the main elements are the same. Guess what? So basically, if your thinking is right, and if you remember that one slide, and maybe a few more, and if you already know that, strategizing is not enough, we have to start, putting our plans in practice, I think then you will be very good in 2028. Not only, I can give you another glimpse of hope. Actually, last week we had a big company dealing with critical infrastructure. They said, Jānis, instead of 3 months into a plan, we want to create it in 3 days. and our whole management team and our smartest people in the organization, 50 people, right there, they will do it. And you know what? They did it. That gives me a lot of hope, because they are not the first ones. I also have a couple of very smart students, and I have had very smart students in Abu Dhabi, now I have in Tallinn, and in Madrid. They have done the same. But you know, what I was prototyping, it was young, enthusiastic entrepreneurs or startups is one thing. But if you can have a very solid company, actually in business for 500 years, if they can do it, then all of us, we can do it. Yeah? So be it in cyber, on-site, nuclear, anything, we can do it. That's, I think, one of the best things that I have realized also in the past few weeks. You know.
Quick answer to this next question, or next two questions. Basically, the question is where to start, because people have woken up, they don't have a plan, they don't have practical exercises, etc. A quick answer, where to start? What would you say is the best next step?
Don't bullshit to yourself that you are prepared. Honest self-reflection. Yeah? If I wake up one day and if I say to myself, oh, Jānis, you're a good guy, really cool expert in something, that's the first signal. I have to step back, take a deep breath, and do, you know what I do then? I take a recurrent training. That's what good pilots do. That's what good managers do. That's what good crisis experts do. They take a recurrent training, they do something again, what they have done already, and then they become better instead of arrogant. Okay?
Thank you, Jānis. You have earned this box. It will not give you intelligence, but at least warm feet.
Okay.
A token of gratitude from us. Thank you very much. Jānis Vanags. Wonderful way to end our day here on CyberChess Day 1.